Hey guys, welcome me back, I guess. It's good to see or to be back and to get back kind of in the routine of what this ministry position calls for. I had a great time away. Got to do a lot of not a lot of traveling, but just a lot of things that helped Tara and I kind of get closer, and my family, and get to be involved in my boys' school more than I am on a continual basis, and it was just a good time. But we're getting back at it and excited. So just wanted to let you know about a couple things. Tomorrow night we're having just an old-fashioned game night for a couple hours at the church. If anybody wants to come, we're going to be playing some old youth group games, and just kind of a time to get back and let the teens know we're getting back at this and starting back up, and just start inviting your friends again. And so that's tomorrow night from 7 to 9 in the Sacred Space. Also, I sent out a thing on the city that talked about meeting, scheduled to meet this Sunday, but with the craziness of just getting caught up on everything and getting a handle on what has happened and where we need to go and what that looks like and all this stuff with Pastor Dave, I want to postpone that to the 20th, and we kind of need to meet. There's a lot of things that are going on, and a lot of people who for various reasons have stepped down, and so we kind of really just need to look at where we are and the leaders that we have and potential avenues for what to do next. And so if you can be there on the 20th, that would be awesome. And like I said, we just kind of need to talk and figure out what this is going to look like. And so please let me know if the 20th works for you. That'll be right after the 10:45, and we'll do lunch, and it'll be a good time. And so if you can, please be there. And like I said, as we talk through this semester and what it could potentially look like. Now for the lesson this Sunday. Last night we talked about Matthew, and the scripture is Matthew 6, 1 through 4, and we talked about masks. We talked about the word hypocrite. We started off talking about if you've watched a TV show or a movie and you just get so involved that you forget the people in the TV show and movie are actors, and you actually think they are the people they're portraying, and how sometimes that can be a really cool thing, but we get so involved that the actors take on their character, and they no longer become the people that they really are, but they become these people that they're portraying. And we talked about the word hypocrite, and how when Jesus used the word hypocrite, in essence isn't a bad word, but for so long it's been used negatively in the church that we think it's a negative word, but it was actually a theatrical word, a word used in theater in Jesus' time, and talked about people who would put on masks and portray different people and act as different people. And so Jesus took this neutral word, not good or bad, just something that defined actors in theater who put on masks and be somebody else, and turned it into a negative word by describing the Pharisees. And so the negative part isn't in the word or the definition, it's in how it is applied to the situation it was applied to. And so the Pharisees are hypocrites because they claim to be one thing and claim to be this follower of God, yet on the inside they are something totally different. And so their actions may lead people to believe that they are these holy people, but on the inside they're as dirty and as evil as the next. And so we talked about, are there people, and do we in essence sometimes put on masks? And sometimes the mask can even be a good thing. Do we do things with the intention of being a follower of Jesus and don't really care if we get credit? Or are there sometimes we even do good things because we want people to see us? In the text it talks about giving alms, and talks about giving treasure, and talks about giving. And so the Pharisees sound trumpets when they do something good for somebody else so that everybody else will see, and because they want people to think they're one thing when in actuality they're something else. And so do we ever do things? And so Jesus is really talking about motivation. What's our motivation? Is it to be seen by others? Is it to have the appearance that we are a strong believer and follower? Or are we doing things because we believe that's who Jesus wants us to be, and we don't care who sees or who recognizes or who notices? So there's some questions about that. Um, and then questions talking about Pharisees. And then in the questions, I also put this passage, Matthew 23, for you to read. And it's these 7 woes. And it'd probably be best if you read a woe. Woe to you, Pharisees. Jesus is talking to them. It'd be best if you did those one at a time rather than reading the whole passage and trying to talk about them. And so you may want to read through them before you get there. You may not even want to do all of them. You may pick up 2 or 3 of them and just say, why is Jesus calling the Pharisees out? What are they doing? Why do you think he's saying that? But eventually you want to get to, how are we living? Are we living like hypocrites? Are we one person at church and a totally different person at our school? And if our friends could come see us at church and see the way we talk and how we act, would it be funny to them? Would they see us as somebody who's putting on a mask or somebody who is actually living this out? Towards the end, we kind of flipped it a little bit, the thought that the Pharisees maybe acted like that so much that it just kind of became second nature. It was just kind of who they were, and they had no idea or thought that they have taken on this character so much that they didn't understand that it was a bad thing. We looked at an actor who played a character in a movie, and this guy named Heath Ledger who played the Joker, and there's reports and stories of how this character he became so much of the character in thought and in his mind that he couldn't sleep at night because it disturbed him so much how evil this guy was, the Joker. And there's even reports that Jack Nicklaus, who played the Joker in back in the 90s in Batman, called him and tried to warn him and say, you need to be careful because this character is evil, and if you don't know how to separate yourself and realize that you're just playing a character, it can be a bad thing for you. And so we talked about how maybe he became this character so much that it was hard to separate himself from it. And if we're not careful in how we do and how we live, and if we are continually putting on a mask, it can be, if we're not careful, it can become who we are in a bad way. That we think, you know what, I need to act this way and I need to do this so people will think this about me, rather than, and it's almost we can become callous to who Jesus really wants us to be because we think we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. And so we prayed at the end and just kind of had a time of meditation and thinking through life and thinking through our life about if we're doing this and if we're acting or if we're really being who Jesus wants us to be, and what's the motivation for what we do, why we do. Is it to be seen by others? Is it so that people will see us and automatically think certain things, or is it because we're really seeking to be who God's called us to be? So that's what we're going to talk about today. Is you can talk about motivation for why we do what we do. You can talk about, are we wearing a mask? Are we two different people? As opposed to an authentic person who's seeking to have Jesus interact with every second of every day of their life. So how do we live, and what does it look like? Yeah, so that's it. I think it could be a good talking point on some level, and maybe allow them to talk about some of the examples we used as far as TV shows that they have been so involved in. They forget that these people are real people and not the people they're acting like are Heath Ledger and the Joker, and how that kind of overtook him on some level. So yeah, that's what we're doing. That's what we're talking about. Chris Rothert will be opening up the session. I'll be over in I'm doing announcements, and this week, only this week, so I'll be back in there the next week. He'll be opening up and sending you to small groups, but there will be a paper with questions, and like I said, we're kind of getting back in the groove. Please, please, please check on January the 20th and do whatever you can to get there. And if your family needs to stay and eat, let me know, and we can make sure that there's food for them. But do your best and to do that for us together as a family and as a team ministering to students. All right, we will chat with you later. Peace.